Hey guys, I'm back. This will be part 2 on the tools. I don't remember exactly where I left off, but I think just on basic we talked about some soldering irons and things of that nature and stuff. So I thought we'd go into some of the electrical aspects and stuff. As far as hand tools, a few other little hand tools that might come in handy, if I haven't already mentioned it, would be at some point a pop rivet gun that's designed to, you can have interchangeable heads for it, so you can use several different sizes of pop rivets. A pair of vice grips. Maybe a small pair and a larger pair can come in handy. And various, maybe different kinds of pliers and things. Just stuff that kind of comes in handy. The other thing too in hand tools, I showed the 6-in-1 screwdriver, which is great for getting started out. But another thing that does come in handy is nut drivers, for one thing. Even though the 6-in-1 does have a 1/4 inch and 5/16, you can get a set of nut drivers and they'll go clear up to 1/2 inch. And you will run into some chassis, especially on the transformers. Power transformers could be either 11/32 or 3/8 as far as taking the if you had to pull the transformer, taking the nuts loose on them. And forgive me if I'm going over stuff that I already did before, because like I said, I forgot where I left off at. I believe I talked about wrenches. Another thing could be a little 1/4 inch socket set. As far as little tips, I talked about soldering iron tips, but another thing that kind of comes in handy, and they're not real expensive, and let's see here if I can come up with something that'll fit. Yeah, there we go. It's these little bits. You just buy these. I got 2 of them. One is 1/4 inch, the other one's 5/16 that I got from at Menards. They had them at Menards, but they got magnets in them. And what's nice about that is if you're, it stays, it won't go anywhere. If you've got to start, say like a little bolt like this, or a nut, you can stick a nut in there. Either way, and you need to, way down in, you can't get your fingers down in there. You could use needle nose pliers or something to try to get it started, or things like that. But these are not, I don't know, they're like $3 or $4 a piece, something like that. But they, you can stick it in here, the nut or the bolt in, and then run it into your driver, and you can get right down inside and get it started without any problems. And you won't lose it. It's there. You don't have to worry about it. It just makes life a lot easier, and they're not that expensive. Some other little tidbits as far as starting screws is these little guys right here. These are screw starters. This one here is it's already set, is designed for straight screws. This one here is designed for Phillips, number 2 and larger. Let's see. And what they come in handy with is, I got a screw and I'm in a tight spot. It's not a nut driver type. It's not a hex head, but it's just a regular screw. It won't go nowhere. So they're spring loaded and they lock right on. And Same with the Phillips. I don't have any Phillips here, and these are not expensive. You buy these at automotive stores, real reasonable price. In fact, there's been a lot of sets up. I've seen some of them out there where they've got on one end they'll have the Phillips, and the other end they'll have the straight. And they also got some that are designed with a nylon handle. The only metal part is right down here at the tip part that holds on, so that if you was actually starting in some place where, for whatever reasons, might be worried about a low voltage or something, or something like that, it'd be fine. But they're like $4 or $5 or so. They're not real expensive, and they're quite handy. The Phillips also has a magnet on the end of it. So just a thought, and just a nice little thing to realize that, getting something like that and them nut driver magnet tips can come in quite handy starting really hard type spot screws. Now, as far as electrical stuff goes, we already talked about the soldering iron, and a digital multimeter. I talked about that the last time, I believe, and stuff. Another thing that is a hot air gun. For one thing, heat shrink tubing. You can use a lighter or anything else, or a hair dryer if you want, but a hot air gun comes in handy doing a lot of different things, not just heat shrink tubing, but a lot of several other stuff. Like if you do decide to maybe restuff caps, getting the old caps unstuffed, you'll need the heat gun. Reflowing some wax on things, or kind of reflowing wax on the coating on your like a flyback transformer, kind of comes in handy for that. The other thing about it too is if you got real old transformers, like late 20s, early 30s radios or something, you can put them in the oven and on real low, as low as possible setting, and let them set for quite a while. Or you can actually put these on low, hold it back a ways, and just kind of gently heat it up. It dries the moisture out. They cause a lot of problems because they've drawn moisture. So anyway, heat gun comes in handy for doing a lot of different things. Another thing is some sort of cordless drill. This came from Menards. It's 20 volt. It wasn't real super high price, but you can use corded drills. You're going to every once in a while have to drill something out. Either drill a rivet out, drill a hole. Maybe you need to make a hole to put in a terminal strip, or any number of reasons. Maybe you have to replace a socket and you have to drill out the rivets on that. But in any case, cordless, I just kind of like them because I don't have the cord bugging me and stuff. Another tool down the road, again, a lot of this stuff is not like, gee, you got to have it right now. Okay, you can work on a radio, you can restore a radio with just some basic hand tools and a soldering iron, and you're good to go. Again, when I talked about safety in the last video, always make sure you do have an isolation transformer. Not all radios have transformers in them, so for your own protection. But a VTVM coupled with a signal generator will give you, allow you to do alignment. You can do like an AM radio by ear. You can even mess with an FM a little bit by ear, at least on the IFs and stuff. But to get really accurate, a VTVM and a signal generator. Now, I think I talked a little bit about, or maybe not, about the signal generator, but anyway, excuse me. But you can do this with the digital, but you're just seeing numbers change. And unless it's really, really high-end digital multimeter, they do it rather slowly, so you'll miss the peak. Whereas with the meter, with the analog meter, you can watch the needle go up and down, and it's instant. As soon as you turn that slug in that transformer, IF transformer, it'll change real quick. As soon as you turn it, this responds. So couple that with some signal generator. I got that Philco up there, model 7200, real nice signal generator, covers a wide bands of frequencies from down around 100, a little less than 100 kilohertz, all the way up to about 280 megahertz. Or another real nice one, and that's what this thing's really built for, is the RCA WR50B RF signal generator. It's also a sweep generator as well, and it's actually got presets for 455 kilohertz and 10.7 megahertz for AM and FM, and it will sweep those, but it'll sweep all the other bands. But you don't even have to use the sweep. You can just use as a straight signal generator. Excuse me. So, and these are not real expensive, but these are real nice. Either one of the two of them. They both have modulation, so that you can turn the modulation on once you get them set. On both of them, though, my suggestion truly is, at least what I like using. Oh, sorry about that, guys. That was my fault. Is a frequency counter. Couple that in with the generator, because the generator's got an analog scale on it. It's real difficult in some frequencies to get it where you almost have to guess where you're setting it at. But this gives you a digital readout. So that kind of comes in handy, and frequency counters are not real expensive. Now, some other things that do come in handy, and that is, this is home built, but a Variac, because you can actually just slowly power something up with the Variac. Now, I've got it connected with, these panel meters I just bought off of like eBay, dirt cheap, but this one's amp meter. It's 0 to 3 amps. And this is a 2-position voltmeter that either 0 to 150 or 0 to 300 volts. So you can power it up slowly and watch the current and stuff. The other thing, I think I mentioned it before, is a dim bulb tester. I've got mine stored away someplace because I generally just use this thing all the time. But a dim bulb tester is just nothing but a light bulb that's connected in series with your radio when you plug it in. So the radio plugs in the dim bulb plugs in the outlet. The light bulb is acting as a current limiter. Worst case scenario, if you got a dead short in your radio, the light bulb just comes on full brilliance. So it'd be just like turning on a regular light, and nothing gets hurt. But you can also use something with a Variac as long as you got an accurate amp meter, and just watch the current on it. If it starts, you start getting the voltage up a ways and it starts jumping pretty high real quick, you can just shut her down. And it shuts down right here. So some other little pieces of test equipment that kind of come in handy is this guy here, the Eichel 950B, but there's several different models, different brands. Virtually Heathkit, Knight, all the kit companies made capacitor testers, capacitor bridges, as well as like Solar and several other companies. But what's nice about it is not only you can check for capacitance, which you can do, you can buy modern capacitance meters to check just the capacitance, but they're not going to check for leakage. And this thing will drive up to 500 volts into a capacitor to check for leakage. And that's what's kind of nice about it. So you can check the leakage on a capacitor, not just the capacitance. Now, if you ever get into TVs, then something like this, which is a sweep marker generator, will be pretty much a must, as well as some sort of pattern generator for displaying a pattern on the screen so that you can adjust linearity and stuff, a test pattern. I've got a couple different ones. My primary go-to one is the B&K model 1077B, and I don't think I can get a good shot of it without taking the camera off, but it's sitting up there behind all the wire right up here. I like it because it does a lot of other things besides just doing a test pattern, but they kind of come in, you know, it's kind of nice to have it. You really need something for a test pattern on there to adjust your linearity and everything after you restore TV. And you need, you know, for the most part, a sweep generator to do a lot of the alignment, especially the RF alignment. You know, a lot of them will, like Admiral, will let you get by with using a signal generator for most of the alignment on the IFs, but to do the final check, they have you go ahead and do a sweep on them, which means that with the sweep generator, oscilloscope. Now, oscilloscopes are handy for a lot of reasons, and if you're ever going to be working on TVs, they're pretty much a must. You know, a decent one used, you can get them pretty reasonable. They're not super high. The nice thing about, you kind of need them for troubleshooting, as well as, of course, if you're going to do sweep alignment, which is a visual alignment, you need the oscilloscope for that. But they do come in real handy besides doing alignment when it comes to troubleshooting. A lot of your service information will have scope patterns, screenshots drawn on the schematic and at different test points, so that if you're having a problem, you can check that test point and see if it matches out. They'll give you a frequency, they'll give you peak-to-peak voltage for what it should be, and then of course what it really looks like. So you can check it and see, you know, you may have, you know, the pattern may be just fine, but it may be too much voltage, or it may be too high a frequency or too low a frequency. But it helps you in troubleshooting. And it does come in handy even working with radios and troubleshooting. There's been times I've went back to the oscilloscope to work on a troublesome radio and to troubleshoot it by just looking at the waveforms going through it. I did a previous video on some other test gear, such as how to build a signal tracer, which is just basically an audio amplifier, and you hook a probe to it. So you can look back in my videos and see it, but those are kind of nice to have. I am going to do a project build video on something like this. I built this. It's an audio generator, which is kind of nice to have to inject signals. And as far as like TV work, another nice little piece of instrument to have is this little guy here, this ICO model 944 flyback transformer yoke tester. Haven't used it for a while. It's cleaned off a little bit, but they do come quite in handy just to test both before you even do any alignment on TV. You bought a TV, you want to check out, just like a radio, you should check your coils, your transformers and everything before you start on it. The last thing you want to do is get all the way through restoring it and it don't work, and then you go troubleshooting and find out the power transformer is shot, or an IF transformer is shot, or an audio transformer. You know, it's not the end of the road, but now you have to go looking for a replacement. If you knew that ahead of time, you could at least look for the replacement and work on something else until you got that replacement, and then you could restore it. Well, same way with TVs. With this, you can check the flyback, and you can check the yoke, and make sure that they're okay and ready to go. Now down below, I've got a Syncor CR70 picture tube tester. Really nice unit, and I use it for checking picture tubes. Another thing that comes in, or will be almost a must to a certain extent, you don't absolutely got to have them, but they really do help, is tube testers. You can get something like emission tester, like this guy here. This is a Heath kit. I believe it's a TC1. It's just an emission tester, and that's actually just fine. You don't need anything real fancy, but basically what you want is something that you can check the condition of the tubes. Are they conducting? Are they providing emission and stuff? And if they are, and it's got a short light test and stuff, it'll light up if there's even leakage, secondary emission. But for the time being, you really don't need anything like transconductance, although I do have one. I've got a couple of them. I got one sitting right here. This is the B&K Dynaquick Model 650, so it does both English, which is your emission testing, as well as transconductance. It's got several. It was designed so you didn't have a lot of knobs or switches or anything. There's only basically 2 knobs and a couple switches. So that's why all the tube sockets, every one of them's wired a little differently to fit different type of tubes. So consequently, it's a little big. I cleaned off the top of this bench and leave it set up here. Another nice little thing is a little bench vise. Kind of comes in handy. Like I said, a lot of this stuff just starting out you don't need immediately by any means. If you're working on just, you're getting started out, you're working on some like All American 5 radios, or just little AM radios or something like that, you can restore them. You follow the first video I put up, part 1, basic hand tools, soldering iron, and of course the isolation transformer, and you can restore it electrically, and replace the caps and any out tolerance resistors and stuff, and you can go from there. And you can even tweak the IFs by ear and stuff, and in fact, you can tweak the oscillator to set the dial. If you've got known radio stations that is on this frequency, you can tune the dial to that frequency, and if it's off a little bit, do a little minor tweaking. Do it by ear. But when you get in a little more sophisticated radios or things of this nature, a signal generator and a VTVM does kind of come in handy to do the alignments and stuff. And but this is just stuff that over time you may find a need for, and you might need it. A few other things, thoughts, has to do with supplies. I've got several cabinets with a lot of different parts and stuff. I keep a basic assortment of capacitors and resistors, covering over wide ranges of values. The reason I do that is it's a lot nicer when you're working on something just to walk over to your parts bin and pull out a new part and put in, than it is, oh gee, have to make up a list and everything, and get online, order a bunch of parts and everything, and then hope when they do get here that you didn't miss something. So I keep a bunch in stock just for that reason. It just makes things go a lot easier. As well as cleaning supplies and stuff for working on cabinets as well. Various different glues and adhesives and rust removers and stuff. Some of the best stuff out there is the Vaporust. I really like it. It's slow, but it's effective. So, and the beauty of it is, once you've used it, you pour a container and you put something in there that's rusty and everything, and you get the, leave it in there for a day, 2, 3 days, 4 or 5 days, whatever it takes for it, depending on how bad rusty it is. Once it cleans it off, you take that liquid and pour it back in the container. You can keep reusing it for quite a long time. So that's the other nice thing, as opposed to stuff like this and a navel jelly. Once you used it, once you pour it out of this bottle and use it, it's done. You wash it off and go on. So once the bottle's empty, it's empty. So I think that's about covers most of it. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I'll try to, I'll probably make a follow-up video to answer any of them. But the biggest thing I don't want you thinking is, geez, I can't get started until I buy everything at once. No. The first video really gives you mostly what you really kind of need to get started. Basic hand tools and, wire cutters, nail nose pliers, screwdriver, and things of that nature. Good soldering iron, isolation transformer, a nice digital multimeter will do you fine. And that'll get you started. And you can do the rest kind of as you go along. If you're not, if you haven't bought a tube tester yet, you're not sure about tubes, you can either go ahead and start looking for one, or you can, if you're suspicious of a tube, you can just buy a new one. There's several sites online that sell new old stock tubes out there, and so you can buy another tube. And most of the tubes that you will run into are not that expensive. Just your audio output tubes can be the high ones, but your front end tubes, most of those you can pick up pretty reasonable. So if you do have a suspicion you don't have a tube tester, you can always just buy a tube, or if you got another radio that is working that's got the same tubes in it, you can just swap that too. Either way. Oops, sorry. So I think that's about all I've got for you. There's a lot of stuff that over time that you'll slowly get as you need it. I basically tell anybody, no matter what they're doing, if you find yourself in the need of a tool more than once, then it may not be a bad idea to buy one. If you only need it once, and that's all you're ever going to need it, then borrow one, rent one, whatever. But if you find yourself in the need of it more than once, then it's probably not a bad idea to buy it. But most of the tools, if you wait around and you're patient, you can pick them up pretty reasonable. These signal generators, sweep generators, oscilloscopes, VTVMs, and so on. Just be patient, and they will show up on like eBay or Craigslist or something like that, pretty reasonable, and if you're patient. So don't think you need to get anything and everything right now. I'm just telling you some of the stuff that you might look forward to. I know there's probably some of you out there thinking, hey, I'm just going to work on radios, and that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you never say never, because you may see a video of someone that you're subscribed to do a video on a TV, if nothing more than just showing it operating. You may like that TV. You may say, boy, that thing's really nice and everything. And you think, I don't want one or anything, or they'll be too expensive for me to ever buy or whatever. And then before you know it, you're out at a swap meet or a yard sale. I mean, I bought TVs at yard sales, dirt cheap, so, and decent radios at yard sales. So, you know, you may be at one of these places and they're setting, and the price is so good, you just can't walk away from it. So, never say never on whatever you might be working on, because that'll be about the time you do probably run into one. So, anyway, if you like the video, give a big thumbs up and stuff. And if you're new to my channel and you like learning about stuff and like watching restorations on tube equipment and stuff, then if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. That way you'll know when the new videos are up. And again, if anybody wants to see some of the stuff in usage, or you want to ask more questions about it or anything, or maybe go a little more elaborate, talk about any one of the pieces of test equipment or anything, just you know, say so in the comments and we can sure do that. So anyway, guys, an update on the camera situation. Most of you who's been watching my videos know that here a couple weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, my old camera, regular video camera, just quit. And so I'm back to my old, it's just a Canon digital camera that does video, and it doesn't, I know it doesn't do as good. So anyway, I've got one on order. They claim they've shipped it, so I'm just waiting for it to get here. So anyway, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video, and well, thanks for watching, and thanks for your comments, and thanks to all my new subscribers. So until next time, have a good evening. I'll see you on the next video.